All right. Good evening, everybody. Just thought I'd put this up for the folks that are interested in this race. Fans of the Simpit and the Assetto Corsa competition we've started. Second race, just kind of everybody feeling the game out a little bit, getting used to the brakes, setups, the different tire, different pit stops, all this kind of stuff. The updates. Folks sort of getting into it here. So um, pretty much the way it qualified was Mike T, Mark, and Joa kind of led off. We didn't really get a great complete recording here, so this is just after the start. And we'll kick this thing off here as Mike comes down to the first turn. Mark right on his case. Joa. These guys are always really fast. Green is faster, so the two green cars chasing the red car. I'm just joking, but Mike looking like he's running from a bank robbery, trying to get away from these guys. We'll jump around a little bit as things go here. Another one of our probably one of our fastest drivers in the crew here. We'll get to in a second. As soon as these guys break up the lead here. Two Ferraris. I think Mike said that he qualified one of the fastest laps he's ever done at Nürburgring, kind of out of nowhere, over a second faster than his fastest lap. So just kind of put the heat on everybody up front. See Joe coming in here. I think there's going to be a little bit of a battle here coming up for the lead. There goes Mark to the inside. Mike gave him a little bit of room there. See if Joe can capitalize on it. And he goes to the inside. Mike right back on him. And we go back a car here as they fight for this space. Joe and Mike. Joe taking the inside turn on that long drop to the bottom. And Mike relinquishes it. So that a lot of the race was like this. Mark and Joe are really fighting it out, and I think throughout the race and staying really tight. Let's jump back to the field a little bit. So we got. I've been seeing this white out a little bit every once in a while on the record here. So we'll jump back through the field. In fourth place, got Car Heroes, myself, a visitor to fans of the Simpit, then Lonnie in the BMW. Just get a little bit of take here with Lonnie. Lonnie and I were had just passed this guy, Anubis, I think his name is. Oops, sorry. Caught Lonnie on a little spin out here, and then Anubis falls him off the edge there. And here comes Mr. DG, David, one of our fastest drivers, dominating drivers. Decided to take the Honda because we challenged him to take the Honda. Definitely not his fastest car, probably the slowest car of all. He's just that kind of guy. So look, all right, you guys want to put it on me, I'll do it. And we were definitely feeling the heat from him in the back, thinking that he was going to catch up with us. Had a little bit of mechanical issue with his sim rig later on. Doug jumping on right, trying to keep up with DG in the Ferrari. And Lonnie back in the race in number 98. As we jump back to the leader. Let me switch up the camera here, get a little bit better angle. This is the chopper view. Mark really pulling away at this point, but Joe not letting go. Not letting go yet, but Mark putting the heat on there. Drop back a car here. We can see that the guy's keeping the same as they kind of got into the rhythm of Mark, Joe, and Mike. You can hear the chopper noise on this view. As we hear Mark going through the tight turn there. Really just not giving any grace out there. I think somebody was joking about DQing him because I had given everybody admin rights to the server. So coming to the chicane here, we'll just jump back as people come through the chicane. There's Joe and Mike. That hard right turn. Myself. Just powering that custom livery on the Porsche. Love that deep red color. Anibus and DG coming up. We were joking with David at this point that he probably had Jaws music on in the car, jamming away, and someone said he had a bunch of giant speakers in the back of that Honda, kind of dogging on the Honda a little bit, pumping him along. Because we all know his driving skills are pretty strong. Mr. D. That great sounding Lamborghini. And Lonnie pushing back into the fold here, not giving up. That deep growling BMW. Had a voice change at a young age. Gotta love the sound of those BMWs. Let's come back to the leader. Going through that deep ditch on the bottom of the hill at Nürburgring GT. That kind of brave. You got to be brave on that left turn there. Are you brave enough to keep the throttle down? Looks like Joe really pushed through there on that last turn. Trying to put some heat on Mr. Mark. Mike not letting go. So come up to the chicane. Hear that Ferrari digging in. Joe taking a tight turn. You can hear the tires jamming on the curbs. A high pitch Porsche. In Assetto Corsa Competition, you can hear that popping noise that you hear when you do compression. There's our visitor, Anibus, with fire shooting out of his AMG, sporting the light green. Mr. DH, Doug, coming in strong. A Lamborghini whining a little bit. And that row BMW, so dominant in the real life races. Just growling. Back to the leaders. Looks like Joe is putting a little pressure on now. Coming a little bit closer. Mike falling back just a little bit. Get some different views here of number 333. Joe coming over the hill. Just real solid driving, accurate driving. I don't know of any. I think there was one hit at the second turn from our visitor into Mr. DG. I think I went through the sequence. I didn't see David. I think he had that pedal failure by now. We're really sad to see him have to drop out. I wanted to see where he would end up challenging himself to drive that car, which was one of the most difficult cars to drive. Joe turning in hard. This turn is just crazy. Just sort of drop down into a hole for a second if you turn tight like Mark is. Kind of drop in a little bit of a hole there. Then you have a hard left. And then just as you get on the gas, you got to hit the brakes again. Try to hold it really tight like he's doing there so you can set up for the next turn. Just a nice exit. Same for Joe, a really nice exit. And we see why Mike is keeping up with everybody. Just really presses down. Go back through our visitor here. And there's DG in the pits. Kind of working on his car, trying to get things going there. I think he was just watching the race at that point. The Honda flashing out there. Just a really cool looking car. Here comes Mr. Doug. Let's see how he does going into that first tight turn. Fire shooting out of the back. This makes a hard, great left turn there. Little damage on the front left of Doug's car. You see it there. And where's old Lonnie? Here comes Lonnie into the first turn. Blinking front LED. It looks like it's blinking on the front. That deep growling BMW. Row Racing, one of the dominant teams in all of racing. Let's check back in with our leaders. Get back and get a high view here. Joe had made up a little bit of gap there in that last lap at 19 minutes in here. 40-minute race. Mark not giving up any space. He's just pressing hard, man. Get back and get a high view here. Going to that hard right. Joe's following him in. And you got sort of the guts hill. That's what I would call it. Do you have the guts to keep the gas down hard going into that after he comes out of this turn on the bottom? Do you have the guts to keep it pressed down hard coming into this turn? Joe got a really good exit out of that ditch turn. And here we have the video whiting out again, which I'm not sure where that's coming from, but whoa, what an exit. Pressing, coming up on him, putting a little pressure maybe. Good exit by Mark. Joe might have overshot it a little bit, but got a good entry into the next turn. Mark might be thinking about it, well, who's behind him about now. Good entrance exit into the chicanes, to the chicane. All clean. And we got Mike coming right in behind him. I wish I had some telemetry to tell me what the distance is, but I don't have it in this version of it. Let's go back to that first turn. See what happens. Does anything change? Then we'll jump back in the field here for a minute. Number 540. The race of the green cars. Who's got the greenest green of all greens? This looks mean coming over that hill. Kind of backed off a little bit, so I will go back up in the field. Here comes Mike, looking like he's about 4 seconds behind maybe at this point, maybe 3. Let's see if Mike keeps the gas down going into this hard left. High speed left, I should say. Goes through the circle. There's that whiteout. I don't know what that's about. Our visitor, who was kind enough to join us, sporting that AMG. They were saying on the something I was watching this weekend, these cars used to all be hand built, these AMGs with signature plates on them. Such pride in the AMG brand. And there is Car Heroes kind of going too wide. That's myself. Trying to hold 5th place, although something happens in the end, I kind of change that, but kind of stay that way for most of the race. And Mr. Doug coming down here. Heading for that hard turn. Fire shooting out of the Lamborghini. It's a nice exit. Looks like yeah, this car, which car is this? I think this guy. I think this car came in later. Which car is this? There was someone that I think they were able to get into the race a little bit later. Pulls off. There's Lonnie coming out. Heading up the hill. Gets a really nice left there. It's kind of hard to judge that right turn, where to press the gas. If you get it just right, you can really jam it. Sights and sounds of the BMW. Gets a nice exit going out of that last turn. Here we've got Mark, the leader. Joe really trying to catch up here. See what happens at this first turn. Joe late on the brakes, trying to close the gap a little bit. Running for the fences, or swinging for the fences, they say in baseball. Can he put enough pressure? He looks like he's got the gap down to around maybe 0.7 seconds at this point. Nice climb on the curve there. We'll go on board with him for a minute. See the mountains off in the distance as you go downhill here. There's a, looks like they're slowly starting to catch up with Lonnie. Let you guys listen to the sound of the Porsche going through this high-speed left. Just a little let off. Oh, there's Lonnie took an exit there. So had a little bit of problem at the top of the turn. I think we might go back and take a look just to have folks see what happened here. So if I back it up to Lonnie, there we go. Fire shooting out of the BMW, and it just oversteers on him a little bit and then kicks back. I had that happen to myself somewhere in the race there. Doug getting a little bit wide on the exit there. Just flying down through the start finish line. Let's go listen to the Lamborghini for a minute here. check back with our leaders. There's Car Heroes. All right, Joa. Oh, that's not Joa. That's it's Lonnie coming up behind Mike. We'll see what's happening with the leaders. Mike's still there and still about the same gap as before. Let's jump on board with Mark for a second. A little Ferrari. Almost no let up at all. Really nicely done through that turn. Wow, that was nice. No, really late braking, but no problem at all. Sights and sounds of the different cars. I think this is Mr. Doug. Yep. Back to the leaders. Mark's still leading. Just holding position the whole race like he owns the track. But Joe was saying, hey, dude, you're late on the rent. I'm going to catch up with you. I'm going to take it away. Nice job through the chicane. I find Assetto Corsa Competition very intense. I mean, it just feels more immersive than what I'm used to. I think someone was saying that they thought it was a very intense race. Again, Joe late on the brakes, trying to close that gap. Use every bit of that Porsche's dexterity that's available to it. Obviously, the Porsche being really good in the turns. Looks like the gap might be a second. Looks like that's going to stay put for a few minutes. Here comes Mike. Just press a nice right turn there. Fire shooting out of that Ferrari. Visibility is really good. You could see him back there all the way down at the bottom of the hill. And now going up the hill. think this is Taylor. I don't have the name tags in front of me, but I think that's who that is. I don't know what is up with that whiteout situation. Car Heroes, David just watching the race, talking to us a little bit. And then the leaders. Look at the gap on the leaders now. Let's see what happens at this turn. At some point, I heard a cuss word, and I didn't see what happened. So I'm trying to see if this might be it from somebody. Joe, we're really tight on him now. Starting to try to get close to Doug. Both of them getting a good exit. A little bit of instability on the Ferrari there on that one turn. Here they come. Doug trying to hold his spot. There goes Mark and Joa. They go 3 wide down the straightaway. Both look like they might have got through with no hits. Joa takes the lead on the first turn, at least takes the lead position. Finally, after 35 minutes, Joa takes the lead. Mark not really playing along with that, thinking, you're not taking that away from me, dude. Not letting up. But Joa looks like he is on a mission. Doug's saying, hey, I'm going to use the draft here and catch up some laps. And just keeping the pace of the leaders with almost effortlessly for a little while there. As we get a nice look behind Mark's car. Kind of revving that car through the bottom of the turn, keep the revs up, keep the RPMs up. Both get a great turn. Mark keeping his revs up. I haven't. That sounds like something I need to work on. Joe gets a really good exit in the Porsche. Adds a little gap there as they come down the hill, come into the chicane. There we go. Mark coming right back on him. Going for the, maybe on this next turn, he'll go for the overtake. Just almost no gap at all, like a 0.2 second gap as they come into the first turn. Joa covers off nicely. No taking him out there. Sets up for the next turn, both of them. Fire shooting out of the Porsche. What's going to happen? Mark takes a little bit wider entrance into this turn. Joe not leaving any space, competing fiercely. Mark gets a little bit better exit out of that turn. Joe gets a little bit oversteer. Whoa! Let's go back and see that in slow motion. Change cameras here. Oh, not change cars, change cameras. This really was probably the deciding factor of the race. Let's go through slow motion. Not sure why he lost traction. He's going plenty straight. Oh, it's not there. It's not. We're not there yet. Okay. As I head into the turn here, both of them. Mark gets a really good entrance into that turn, closing the gap off nicely. I'm not sure what caused the oversteer. It's just typical Porsche, I think. Mark does a nice job, just barely touches the tip of Joe there, so not much damage at all, I wouldn't think. Let's go take a look at and just reclaims the lead. Just one of those things. I also felt that in the Porsche. I was losing grip at one point, like I just couldn't really handle the car, and it seemed to come back in later. All right, let's take a look at the rest of the field. Nice pass by Mark, just to avoid contact, too much contact. Wait. Who is that? Is that Doug? Yeah. Oh, that's right. He had just gotten past. Okay, I know what's going on now. All right. Let me go back to Mike, who's just down a little bit. Not too bad. Maybe about 4 to 5 seconds, I would think, at this point. So nice interest into the chicane, just driving steady for the whole race. Mike pressing in here for the going into the straightaway. Oh, not quite there. I was wrong. Sorry, he's already past that. Just great driving all the way through. Just very few mistakes. And even the mistakes that were made were not too bad. Let's jump in with Lonnie here for a minute. Maybe a little bit slower than he liked on that one turn. As we listen to the growl of the BMW. Such a beast of a car. Nice exit there. Let's see how Lonnie takes the high-speed turn. Just a slight let off and back on the gas. Let's jump back in the field here. There's Anubis. Car Heroes, myself. I had a good race, but I just had a mistake at the end. It was nothing to do with wrecking. Called Petro. Mr. Taylor, jamming in the Lamborghini here. And the Dyco. As the sun decides to burn the skin off the earth during the race, kill everybody, and then changes its mind. Go back to Mark here and look at how the gap's shaping up. Looks like Joa is about 4 seconds behind. Just closing out the race here as we get close to the end. I'm sure Joe is thinking at this point, I just did all that work. I got the pass, and here I am having to do it all over again. I would be thinking that. It's happened to me before. Let's follow the leader inside the car for this first turn. Right back on the gas in position 1 of the gear shifter. Gets the car rotated, back on the gas. Tight rotation, right back on the gas. This turn right here is definitely one you hang on to the steering wheel because am I going to oversteer? Nice and smooth all the way through. You can see why he's in the lead. Mr. Doug not letting go of the leaders after they pass them, just trying to keep the pressure on himself to pick up a lap maybe. If he can hang with those guys. Doug just perfect execution on that left. Back on the gas early. Let's follow Doug through the chicane. Mr. Mike coming back up on Doug, trying to make the pass. Seems like Mike was ahead of him earlier. Nothing sounds like a Ferrari, man. To hear the car bottoming out. Mike really starting to try to catch up here. Maybe make a move on him. Gets an early turn in with a hard push on the exit. Everything else behind still looks about the same. Does Mike get the pass? Let's see for a minute here. Doug goes a little bit wide on that turn, gets a blue flag, and Mike takes the overtake. Let's do a little bit of a replay there. And we'll just change the camera. Slow motion. We'll switch back to Mike as soon as Doug. Little bit of slow motion. They both get good turn through on this bottom of the hill part. As the sun decides to burn the earth up again. Doug goes a little bit wide. And Mike just smoothly comes around the outside. Joe is slowly catching the gap up again. Let's go back through the field. Lonnie and the white BMW still pressing through. I think he might be down a lap at this point. I can't quite remember. Maybe not. Yeah, the compression of the engine popping. Pop, pop. I went to the Sebring 24 and those BMWs, they just sound them. Those in the Lexus. Just got that deep growl. And the row racing coming into the first turn. Good turn in. Just perfect and flawless execution there. No problems at all. Car Heroes in 5th place most of the race. Might have finished in 5th. I'm not sure because a lot of people ran out of gas. A couple people did. Taylor trying to push through, trying to catch up with them. Shut the gap down to about a second there. This might be the last lap, so let me jump back to the leaders. A red flag, and I think that was it. Yeah. And let's jump back a little bit so I can catch the last bit of the race here. Mark and Joa coming up. As Mark goes in for the win. Just one more turn, I believe. No, a couple more turns still. Joa did close the gap down a little bit more before the end of the race. .333 across first place. Joa second place. And here comes Mike to claim the last spot on the podium. Nicely done. Doug finishing off the race. And Lonnie in seventh. Going through the straightaway. And our visitor claimed fourth place. Anubis, thanks for joining. Hope I didn't mispronounce your name. I probably did. Forgive me, please. And then Car Heroes. Whoa, we didn't get the end of it, I guess. Anyway, I ran out of gas right at the finish line. 10 feet from the finish line. So that's the broadcast for tonight. Hope people enjoyed it. Thanks for everybody coming out for the race. And let's go back to the leader here. Number 333. Putting a win in the books. Hope you guys have a great night. Take care.